And of course, we've been following this. And ever since Jesse Waters, Ass Face Waters on Fox News was talking about um, Taylor Swift being a possible psyop for the government. Well, it's turned into now the left is sort of attacking people for even suggesting it. And so anytime you see the mainstream media attacking an idea or calling it, racist or calling it MAGA or calling it, far right extremist conspiracy theories, there's usually something to that. I mean, when we think about, I don't know, Hunter Biden's laptop, they were calling it a Russian Trump conspiracy theory, and it all turned out to be true, right? Right. If you didn't want to wear a mask, they called you a racist, and you wanted to kill people, and you're a MAGA right wing extremist, right? Even though it's been pretty much proven that masks do very, very little to contain any sort of airborne virus. Did nothing. It did fucking nothing. It got the droplets. It caught the droplets. So when we look back over the last few years, it's pretty easy to find that as soon as they start labeling anything far right extremist, there tends to be some sort of truth behind it. Now, does that mean that Taylor Swift is a psyop for the government? I don't know. But when you look at it, when you zoom out, it looks a little strange, right? Like all these connections, and of course, you can make connections over anything. But there's nothing weird about celebrities endorsing their favorite candidates. That there's nothing new or different about that. The famous people or people even on TikTok are paid to promote certain policies or promote candidates or the DNC. Like there was that whole thing with TikTok and all those creators who met up at the White House to be told exactly what they can and can't say and what they should be promoting. And of course, it using celebrities. Now, this is when it gets a little weird, when you start using celebrities in covert ways, or maybe the celebrities are unwittingly participating, like the CIA likes to do, right? The CIA really likes to do clandestine operations, and this is something that happened back in the 50s with Louis Armstrong. They did it to Nina Simone, where they'll be undercover they'll use musicians or actors to promote propaganda or to go carry out clandestine operations. These are things we covered already. So now we have Rolling Stone, MSNBC, you have all these left-wing liberal outlets, quote unquote liberal outlets. Only I say quote unquote only because I consider myself liberal, even though like the liberals moved the goalpost. I'm always been liberal, still am. I do find myself sitting in the middle a little bit now, a little bit fence sitting now. But let's jump into this article from Rolling Stone, notoriously a liberal magazine that covers music and politics. And, I love the shit out of them, but they do a good job on covering some aspects of music and politics. But I mean, they used to be beautiful. I remember during 2008, I had the financial crisis. And I remember reading Matt Taibbi's, huge cover story on how these bankers, flattened us financially, and people lost homes, and it was a big mess. And I was in California at the time, and I was just very lucky that I was in a good situation. Yeah, Rolling Stone has a great history of doing really good work, but unfortunately, they've only sort of bent the knee to these, to the government and big tech and corporate overlords, and it's all a mess now. Everything's sort of controlled and filtered. You got to go to independent media to find anything resembling facts. With that, even you don't know what you're getting, so it's very hard to keep track of information and to distill facts, because just so much shit is being thrown around. So jumping into this is sort of an update on what's going on with the Taylor Swift after a long weekend of AI nudes. And of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, they won the playoffs against the Baltimore Ravens. They'll be facing off against the 49ers. And of course, we read all about that last time, how Taylor Swift has increased viewership just by her presence, increased money, and how that could definitely be spun and used by the Biden administration to get him elected. We've also seen that Taylor Swift, the AI nudes, we saw the press secretary, Jean-Pierre, or whatever her name is, Karine Jean-Pierre, we saw her directly addressing that and calling for legislation to censor the internet. And it's just, it's very odd. I had let me see something. Hold on. Let me switch. I had a good list of stuff going on and the pros and cons of having to deal with AI and Taylor Swift, but maybe we'll get over there. And of course, they're going to have to make policies that censor legislation, they'll have to pass legislation to censor parts of the internet if they really truly want to stop Taylor Swift from being, or any other celebrity or any other woman, man, being exposed through AI, which it's just made up. That's not how Taylor Swift really looks. Taylor Swift doesn't really have that big juicy ass that they show on these AI. Firehorse, I'm training and want to give you an alert. I appreciate that. Hope you and the fam are doing great. Firehorse, thank you so much. Tuning in on Kick. I appreciate you. I appreciate the lurk so much. And enjoy your training. Okay, so we'll look into some of the pros and cons. I had AI list out some stuff, but let's go into this. Trump allies pledge a holy war against Taylor Swift. Now, the left has really jumped on this and started going hard on this conspiracy theory. Again, it's very interesting when you see the mainstream media attack an idea, start labeling it racist or MAGA or far-right extremist ideas or conspiracy theories. As soon as you start seeing that, to me, that's a red flag. That's a red flag that there is something to this if they feel the need to address it in such an aggressive way where it's actually they're all reporting on the same idea that Trump pledges holy war against Taylor Swift. So let's jump into this article. Singer-songwriter Taylor Swift hasn't even endorsed President Joe Biden for re-election yet. That hasn't stopped members of MAGA land's upper crust from plotting to declare, as one source close to Donald Trump calls it, a holy war. This is a holy war, goddammit. On the pop mega star, especially if she ends up publicly backing the Democrats in the 2024 election. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy, we covered that the other day. Vivek Ramaswamy, he was the Republican. He was a Republican presidential candidate, and he just recently dropped out. And he was saying that he tweeted out something along the lines of, "Oh, it's real. Isn't it coincidence that Taylor Swift or isn't it a coincidence that the Chiefs won? And then I bet they're gonna win the Super Bowl, and then I bet that they're gonna have like an amazing little endorsement of Joe Biden afterwards." Of course, feeding into that idea that she is somehow being used by the government, which is very possible. Again, we broke all this down in previous videos, and you guys can go check that out. But So let's continue here. According to three people familiar with the matter, Trump loyalists working on or close to the former president's campaign, longtime Trump allies in right-wing media, and an array of outside advisors to the ex-president have long taken it as a given that Swift will eventually endorse Biden. Indeed, several of these Republicans and conservative media figures have discussed the matter with Trump over the past few months, the sources say. So, sources say. It's interesting, and sources say. We'll see what the sources say. Who knows what they're saying? They might not be saying anything. Who knows? While Swift has not yet issued an endorsement in the 2024 race, the New York Times reported Monday that Swift is a key name on Biden aides' wish list of potential surrogates. That's weird. That sounds like she's going to carry Biden's baby. He's going to be sniffing her hair like, yes. Carry my baby. My president baby. A potential Swift appearance at Super Bowl whatever that says, 33, I think, alongside her boyfriend, Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, has already prompted the MAGA rights culture war pugilist into. Okay, I don't know what that says. Sorry, guys. I didn't sleep well last night. I was up all night watching firearm videos. I was watching people shooting squirrels, which is kind of fucked up. But apparently they're big pests and on some farms. Anyways, I was up at 5 a.m. watching squirrels getting their heads blown off in slow motion. That might sound like psycho behavior, but let me tell you, it's psycho behavior. Behind the scenes, Trump has reacted to the possibility of Biden and Swift teaming up against him this year, not with alarm, but with an insistent projection of ego. Of course, we're going to have the liberal bias here. And again, I consider myself liberal, and I don't care for Trump at all. In recent weeks, the former president has told people in his orbit that no amount of A-list celebrity endorsements will save Biden, which I tend to agree with. No one's happy with Biden. Half of the left is basically calling Biden a fucking Genocide Joe, okay, because of his stance with Israel in that conflict that's going on right now. And the other half are just sort of disenfranchised with, like especially the youth, when they see this old white man who is barely able to string along sentences. Like, oh my God, just in the past week, it's just been gaffe after gaffe where he's just, come on, man. So a lot of people are sort of disenfranchised with the options that we have for this year's presidential election, especially including that Trump is probably going to be running again as the Republican candidate. So let's see. Behind the scenes, Trump has reacted. Okay, yeah. Trump has also privately claimed that he is more popular than Swift, that he has more committed fans than she does. A person close to Trump, whatever, and another source with knowledge of the matter tell Rolling Stone. Now, is this true? Now, this is that old school. This is the old hey, Amy, welcome back. Hey, Amy, well, we've been on Kick. We've been streaming on Kick, but now we're multi-streaming. So we're streaming on Kick, YouTube, and here on Twitch. So welcome in. I've been pretty good. It's been a wild couple weeks, but you said how you've been, not where you've been. Again, I was up at 5 a.m. watching firearm videos and people blowing squirrels' heads off with high caliber rifles, which is oddly addicting to watch. And pigs. They've been just shooting hogs. Anyways, psycho behavior aside, I've been great. I've been tired. I've been running ragged, but we have been doing it. Welcome in. Thank you so much for joining us. How have you been? How are you? How are things going in your world? Right now we're going over the reaction to quote unquote conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift is a psyop for the government and that she is working to censor the internet and to get Biden elected. And, obviously the right has sort of ran off with this idea, and over the next few days, if this lasts the next few days, we're probably going to see a lot more people getting shut down and being like, oh, he's just a right-wing conspiracy theorist, all this stuff. But it's very interesting um, when you see the evidence zoomed out, which we've been going over a lot in the last few weeks. I've been obsessing over Taylor Swift. Not that I'm a big fan, but I definitely, it's very interesting to me to see this one person who is definitely on top of her game right now. Like, she is peaking as an artist. Like, she's been, consistently a huge artist over the last almost 2 decades. And so to see her really peaking right now, especially with Travis Kelce, it's interesting to see how she's handling it, and what she's going to do with her platform. Last month, the source close to Trump adds the ex-president commented to some confidence that it obviously made no sense that he was not named. Obviously made no sense that he was not named Time Magazine 2023 Person of the Year, and neither that went to none other than Swift in December, which, yeah, she was definitely due. And again, I was trying to comment on Trump and how he just learned make shit up. Like, that's his MO. Like, he just makes stuff up. I'm more popular than Taylor Swift. Is that true? I don't know. I mean, he's pretty popular and well known. Now, he might be more famous because he was the president of the United States. And I guess the big difference is that Taylor Swift is beloved by many, whereas Trump is beloved by a lot, but reviled by a lot as well. So same thing with Taylor Swift, but I feel like there's more people who love Taylor Swift than don't. And even if you don't like Taylor Swift, I know a lot of people who are just like, I just like that she's not popping her ass everywhere, and she's not, talking about sucking dick, and her coochie is pink and her booty hole brown and stuff. Which her booty hole probably not brown, it's probably pink, maybe. I don't know. But it's just a departure from that. Although people do believe she's a witch, she does have like witch imagery and stuff, which we can go into another time. Anyways, is Trump more famous than Taylor Swift? He might be, but like, no matter what, Trump is always going to say he's the best, I'm the greatest. When people walk in the room, they're like, wow, he's the greatest. So, there is there is a possibility, but most likely he's just talking shit, and that's what he does. He just makes shit up and just runs with it. And that's just what he does. In an email to Rolling Stone, the Trump campaign senior advisor Jason Miller shrugged off the prospect of a swift endorsement for Trump's rival. Joe Biden might be counting on Taylor Swift to save him, but voters are looking at these sky-high inflation rates and saying, we are never getting back together, Miller wrote. And I agree with that sentiment. There are so many people who are just so sick of these high prices, and gas it's triple what it was, and people remember when eggs cost like $12 a carton, and coming off of 89.75 cents for a carton of eggs. People remember that. People realize that they're not getting their pay is not going up. It's only prices of goods are going up. And that's not a great place to be, especially as the president. Of course, the border wall is a issue that Republicans and both Democrats are upset with. And now Joe Biden's blaming the Republicans for his mishandling of the border. So, yeah, people are just disenfranchised from Joe Biden. And again, I voted for Joe Biden, and only because I couldn't vote for Trump, and I just felt like it was necessary. But it is definitely buyer's remorse. I am not happy with this president. I think he is terrible, and he can barely string sentences together. He's half-wit. So, and he wasn't even great before that, right? Like, again, he did the 94 crime bill. He was a part of that. Like he did this. He along with some other assholes created the biggest industrial complex there ever has been in history, where they just tons of people just profit off of slave labor. It's modern day slavery, and we won't go too far into it, but he's no peach, right? Like, he's done terrible things. He's said very racist things. He smells children's hair. He's weird, all right? The former president has taken public swipes at Swift because of her endorsement of two Tennessee Democrats running during the 2018 midterms. I like Taylor Swift about 25% less now. And it's funny too because the pop singer, there's a video of her backstage, and she's like, "Oh, Trump says he likes me 25% less now." It's like, if I was Taylor Swift, I wouldn't care, right? But maybe she did care. Maybe she was like, I think it would be hilarious if Taylor Swift came out as a Trump supporter. she's like, I would like to endorse Donald Trump for president of the United States. And then she's like, shake it off, shake it off. Woo-hoo-hoo. Meanwhile, as Trump has been, Swift also blasted Trump during the 2020 election, accusing him of trying to blatantly cheat and put millions of Americans' lives at risk, following Trump's administration's effort to hinder mail-in voting amid COVID-19 pandemic. Now, that was a big point of contention, and it still is, this idea of tons of people just mailing in their vote. Again, I'm not going to say that the election was stolen, but there was definitely some interesting stuff that happened. There was definitely some localized fraud that was going on, but nothing on a nationwide scale. But I feel like there's no way to avoid that there's always going to be human error, and people are always going to make stupid decisions based on their ideology, and try to tried to alter the election in some way just because they hate Donald Trump so much, or they hate Joe Biden so much, or whatever it is. It goes on both sides. And let's not forget that when Donald Trump got elected in 2018, they were all saying that he stole the election. Now, did YouTube start demonetizing and taking down videos when Hillary Clinton was talking about how much he stole the election? No, they did not. But as soon as Joe Biden won and Trump was out, it became, you couldn't talk about it. I mean, you couldn't talk about vaccines. You couldn't talk about COVID in any way that deviated from a narrative. In the last 4 years, we've seen YouTube really crack down. And across the board, honestly, it's just been locked down, what you can and can't talk about. Obviously, we can start talking about, did the virus come from a lab in China? Now it's like, yeah, but pretty much that's probably what it is. So, things change, and narratives, people move on from narratives and such. So it's interesting to see where all this is now, and how people have to sort of tiptoe around subjects. Meanwhile, as Trump has been having a popularity contest in his own head, others close to him, including GOP operatives, some of his 2024 staff, and Trumpy media figures have been brainstorming different ways to go after Swift. Since late last year, these Trump allies have repeatedly discussed how to turn the culture war dial up to 11 if she re-endorses Biden this year, the sources recount. It would be more fuel thrown onto the culture war fires, says an official working on the Trump re-election efforts. Another left-wing celebrity who is part of the Democratic elite telling you what to think. Now, I don't think it's telling you what to think. They're just saying, hey, this is what I'm all about. And because Taylor Swift has such a loyal fan base, the Swifties, And it made a difference in the last election where she got a lot of young people to go out and vote and get registered to vote. Where again, a lot of young people just feels completely disenfranchised and just very unsatisfied with what the government has become. So much so that a lot of people just want to see the United States fall, and which I don't. I don't. I have children. I have a daughter coming on Friday. I don't want the U.S. to fall. That means mass starvation. It means a plunge back into the Stone Ages, at least for a little bit, because if the country wars with itself, the first thing that you do is take out infrastructure. You start starving people out. So they make a ruckus to, put pressure on whoever the leaders are in that region to, stop the war. That's what Israel is doing to Palestine. It's like number one thing, right? Cut off resources, turn off power, turn off water, stop the flow of food. It would be a horrible mess. It'd be a horrible mess. And I don't wish that, but I do believe that a huge overhaul does need to take place in our government, using the Constitution as the fundamentals of that overhaul. Because right now, we were talking about this last time, that to censor people, the government doesn't have to directly censor people anymore. They can just reach out to their minions at Meta or at TikTok and say, hey, this is what we don't want you doing. We don't like these people. We want you to suppress this account, which that all came out, and they're doing it with everybody. And that includes, they're sending out direct quotes for people to repeat on the networks, on these legacy media networks. But that all came out during the Twitter files when we found out that, yes, the Biden administration was reaching out to to Twitter before Elon took over, and was, telling them or suggesting to them that, hey, suppress this, cancel that, don't let the Hunter Biden laptop story to be distributed. They were paying, the CIA was paying, money, millions of dollars to, they I think they were donating it or saying that it was for the stop of misinformation, but it was really just, money to the company. So they'll just do their bidding. I mean, they're not above using money. The CIA and the deep state is not above, they're not above reaching out to corporate masters to shut down conversations. Where they used to go ahead and violate the Constitution, which in some ways they have been violating the Constitution, where they'll just murder people, which, like, the Clintons still just murder people. They're just like, fuck them. It's more, they don't have to do it like that. They can silence people through their online presence just by shutting them down. They can silence people and ostracize people even in their own communities, just by spreading their own disinformation or malinformation. So yeah, it's definitely a strange time to be alive. Let's see. Publicly, members of Trump's inner sanctum and social circle are already signaling Swift's prominent position atop their enemies' list. A situation that reached fever pitch now that Swift's boyfriend will once again be playing in the Super Bowl. On Monday, Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, shared a post on social media that includes the caption, "Who thinks this country needs a lot more women like Alina Habba and a lot less like Taylor Swift?" Habba has represented Trump in the E. Jean Carroll defamation case, where he was ordered $83 million for defamation, which she was joking and saying, it's like, we're going to go and spend that money. They were like, how can you use this money to help women? She's like, first of all, I'm going to take you and we're going to go shopping. You're like, yeah, you're helping one woman, I suppose. Two, if you count yourself. Fox News host Jeanine Pirro, I don't know if I'm saying that, Pirro, who's acted as an informal political advisor to Trump, including during his presidency, warned Swift to stay out of 2024. I would agree with that. I really see. I respect Taylor Swift and a lot of things she does, even though I'm not the biggest fan. I love that she circumvented the distribution, Hollywood distribution companies, just to let them take a piece of what she funded herself, her Eras tour movie. She just made a deal directly with AMC. She re-recorded her music just so she can own her masters, and she commanded her Swifties to go out and make sure you buy and listen to that music Taylor's way, so that she could get the money and own it. Because a slime bags like Scooter Braun, who bought up her catalog and is still making money off of her old music, but now that she re-recorded it, yada yada yada. I have mad respect for her in that sense, and I would say, stay out of things that are divisive. Like, that's just, I don't think we need that. Now, she's probably going to endorse a president since she's done it for the last few presidents. So I'm guessing that she's probably going to endorse Biden, which again is nothing new. Celebrities get paid or they get tapped to do that all the time. And of course, most of entertainment is a left-leaning biased in their ideology. It's just like, it's part of the cult. If you don't believe the narrative, what they're saying, then you're fucking out. You get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome here, you scumbag. Okay, so Janine Herrero, I'm not doing that right. Don't get involved in politics. We don't want to see you there, the Fox host said. Joe Biden is in a hole with young people. He knows it. And if he thinks Taylor can get him out of that hole, he's gonna go, which is very true. Why wouldn't you? Well, they need a Hail Mary at this point. Fucking, the kids are calling him Genocide Joe, okay? It's hard to get outside, get out from underneath Genocide Joe. And that's why you saw this like failed. It was just an absolute failure of the vice president and the president going around. They did like an abortion tour where they were just talking about abortion and how the Republicans took it away, and which I agree. I think it was fucked up that the Republicans, that they decided that no, and it shouldn't be a federal thing, that it should be up to the state, which is how the Constitution was intended, for states to rule their own territories the way they see fit. But I do think it's something that was very important that should have been codified during the Obama administration, when Obama and Biden were running the country, and both the Congress and Senate were Democrats, and they still couldn't codify that federal bill into federal policy, because it's such a hot topic and people just don't want to get in there. Do you speak English, bro? Nah, not English. I try not to. I try not to spring ringlish. And welcome, Phil Oso Dragon. Welcome in. So yeah, it's definitely, the Biden administration needs help. And if I was on the Biden team, I would definitely be like, yo, we need Taylor Swift. But I don't know if the Swifties can save them. The Swifties can definitely dox Somalian trolls for putting out AI nudes on Telegram. But I don't know if they can get Joe Biden elected. I just don't know. They're calling him Genocide Joe. How do you get past Genocide Joe? This is all sickening. Anyways, former GOP presidential hopeful and current Trump hype man, that is true, Vivek Ramaswamy took to Twitter following the latest Chiefs playoffs win to claim that unnamed forces would rig the Super Bowl to give the as yet non-existent endorsement from the artificially culturally propped up couple increased visibility. And again, we're sort of trying to figure out or at least speculate on, is Taylor Swift a psyop for the state? And if they did want that kind of endorsement and they did want to prop up a couple, they definitely have been doing that now. Every Kansas City Chiefs game, there's at least 10 whole minutes collectively of Taylor Swift just sitting there going, yay! They definitely culturally been propped up. Taylor Swift has been culturally propped up, which is something that is very possible to do, that the CIA or the deep state is very much able to do. It's very much in their realm of possibilities of things that they can do. Again, they don't have to censor people directly. They can just tell these companies to do it for them. They can tell people to bury stories, bury people. Swift isn't a psyop. The psyop is promotion of her. Well, that's what I'm getting at, Phil, because you're right. It's like you can promote her, and it doesn't. She could be unwittingly participating in something that the government is doing. This has been done in the past. They overthrow governments, and this is partly how they do overthrow different governments to go steal resources. Right? They'll go and they'll prop up the person they want. They'll create marketing campaigns. They'll tell Facebook to suppress this person. They'll put out false information. This is shit that they do all the time when we at the United States want to go and steal resources, which is what we do. That's like, that's part of our power, right? Like, she'd 100% be right wing if she just embraced her and her fans after what Soros did to her. Yeah. And we were joking about that. Wouldn't it be hilarious if she just came out and was like, I endorse Donald Trump? What would that do to the Swifties? Would that like make their brains just like swell and pop inside their skulls? Like, I don't know. Like, it would be a very interesting thing to see. But again, the entertainment industry leans very heavily left, and it's just what it does. George Soros is another good example of elites propping up DAs that they want to see. If they want to see change, they don't have to go and, the government doesn't have to implement it. They can just go and prop up people, elites who have influence on government officials. They can go and prop up, like Soros did, fund DAs that line up with his ideology, and cities burn. But hey, people elect what they want, in a sense, I suppose. So yeah, it could be, she could definitely be, and you're also suggesting that she could be just sort of playing along with the narrative because she knows that it's financially beneficial. Because if she does come out as a Trump supporter, she's going to lose, millions of fans right away. It's going to be completely divided. And since the mainstream media and the entertainment industry is heavily biased to the left, it's gonna fuck with the bottom line. So yeah, it's beneficial for her to not talk about Israel and Palestine. It's beneficial for her to just stay out of politics, although it wouldn't hurt her that bad to endorse Biden, even though they call him Genocide Joe. Ty White Beats, welcome in. Good to see you, my friend, over here on Twitch. By the way, we're streaming on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube right now. So this is good times. First time for everything. MAGA pundits have spent months fuming about Swift and her boyfriend, already a hated figure for his role as a Pfizer COVID-19 spokesperson.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
Thank you, Pfizer. We appreciate you bringing us our politicians, our news, and of course, our football players. Oh yeah, and of course, medicines. And we really can't downplay the importance of pharmaceutical companies that actually do provide life-saving medicines, but they are also very capable of doing harm to a large swath of people, which Pfizer is one of the companies that has been subjected to the largest lawsuits in history of lawsuits. So obviously they can do bad, but they do very great things as well. So it's easy to just be like, fuck you, Pfizer, and not actually stand back and be like, oh, well, Pfizer actually, they create these interesting these very innovative medicines that save people's lives. And of course, they're never going to cure cancer because there's no money in the cure, but at least treat cancer to a point. And again, just horrible diseases that wreck people and wreck people's lives. During a rant in November about the GOP's losses across a string of state elections and abortion-related ballot initiatives, Turning Point USA founder and Trump ally Charlie Kirk warned that Swift was going to come out in the presidential election and mobilize her fans, adding that all the Swifties want is swift abortion. Again, fuck, it's so I mean, the GOP and the abortion thing just it blows my mind. I'm such a fence sitter on all this stuff, but it's like, why? I mean, I get it if you're conservative and you're religious and all that stuff, I get it, but that's your choice, you know? Like, you can make that decision if you have sex outside of the sanctity of marriage and you end up getting pregnant, you know, like, that's your choice if you want to keep that baby or, you know, flush it. And I don't know, it's just, it feels like you're imposing ideology on people, which I can't stand. They'd easily beat their lawsuit if we could sue them over the vax. Yeah, no, we're not allowed to sue them over the vax, but it's funny that the vaccine is there in Texas. There is a class action lawsuit going on where they're actually suing the government because they can't sue Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson or Moderna or any of them. It's not just abortion for abortion's sake. It's when to abort one. Yes, exactly. And that's a weird thing as well, right? Because now we have here in Ohio, which has been a red state for a while. We were blue state. We're a swing state, obviously, you know, we're a swing state. And just in November, we passed legalized marijuana, which is like, fuck yeah, let's go. And we also passed a law which allows people to get abortions up to 9 months. If you can find a doctor that'll do it here in Ohio, they will take a fully formed baby and dispose of it. And it could be, and a lot of times when you have those situations, it's because of the baby severely, you know, something happened during the pregnancy and the baby is severely, you know, maybe born without a heart. And as soon as it comes out, it's going to die anyways. Or, you know, it could be like really the mother is going to die for some reason. You know, there are reasons why this would happen. But it also opens up the idea of like, well, my baby daddy left me 6 months in, and I ain't gonna be here holding the bag with this little ass motherfucker in my stomach. Get it out, flush it down the toilet, and that's where it's at. You just described a stillborn, not an abortion. Yeah, well, but no, because they can go in, because the baby would still be connected to a lifeline, and as soon as you take that lifeline out, it is I mean, I think a stillborn is when the baby actually dies within you, and then you have to abort it. But there are cases where they have where babies. No, that is still a stillborn and not abortion. Okay, fair enough. So a stillborn, the definition of a stillborn, it's actual medical condition. Look it up. Let's look it up. Fuck it. Let's do it. Phil, holding us accountable. We like it. Opulence, welcome in. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for joining us. Definition of stillborn. So according to the CDC, the stillbirth is a pregnancy loss that occurs at or after 20 weeks of pregnancy. The WHO defines a stillbirth as a baby that dies after 28 weeks of pregnancy, but before or during birth. Okay, but before or during birth. So there you go, Phil. So that's the key phrase, right? But before or during birth. then it becomes something else. So what is that? What did they call that? So a stillborn is a baby that dies after 28 weeks, but before or during birth. So what is it called when the baby's dying after birth? Is that an abortion? I don't know. In the United States, is that a miscarriage then? I don't know. Is usually defined as a loss of baby before the 20th week. Okay. In England, stillbirth is defined as a baby born dead after 24 completed weeks of pregnancy. So that they could, in Ohio, here we go. In Ohio, a stillborn is defined as an infant of at least 20 weeks of gestation that has suffered a fetal death. Okay, so that's in Ohio. Stillbirths. Wow. So that's interesting that different states, different countries define stillborn as different definitions. So there's no like solid definition of what it is. An operation to remove a baby that has no heart would cause a stillbirth. Okay, fair enough. My point was, though, that there are sometimes medical conditions where maybe the mother might die because of the baby of some reason, and the baby has to be aborted. There are some reasons that go past what usually abortions are, which I believe is 20 weeks in a lot of different, in more liberal cities. I think it's like 21 weeks, or liberal states. More conservative states. And as soon as you get more conservative, it gets to 6 weeks, which is really weird because sometimes women don't even know they're pregnant by 6 weeks, which I think is completely ridiculous that they would even make that law. But yeah, my whole point was that there are sometimes medical reasons that a baby might have to be aborted after the point where the baby could live outside the womb, which is like 30 some weeks or something like that. Anyways, there are 0 medical conditions that require. Let's look it up. Let's see what Google says. Medical conditions that require abortions. And I'm typing like I speak English good. Abortion can be medically necessary, says Google. Phil, what is this? Google over here. You know how reliable Google can be. Abortion can be medically necessary. This is of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, OBGYNs. The American College of OBGYNs and Physicians of Reproductive Health released the following joint statement. The science of medicine is not subjective, and a strongly held personal belief should never outweigh scientific evidence, override standards of medical care, or drive policy that puts a person's health and life at risk. Pregnancy imposes significant physiological challenges on one's body. These changes can exacerbate underlying or pre-existing conditions like renal or cardiac disease and can severely compromise health or even cause death. Determining the appropriate medical intervention depends on a patient's specific condition. There are situations where pregnancy termination in the form of an abortion is the only medical intervention that can preserve a patient's health or save their life. So there you go. There are risks to mothers that are known before they even conceive, and it's at their own risk. Fair enough, but even if they make that decision, which they're free to make that decision, there might be the situation where they have to abort. Yeah, it's a touchy subject, of course. And I'm very pro-choice. So, I'm not against abortions. But I am against abortions. Like, if someone's like, I just want to get this out of my belly, I'm done being pregnant, and it's just and they're like 35 weeks pregnant, and they're just like, I give up, get rid of it. That seems a little bit much. And that was the sort of the problem with the argument that the GOP was saying, is that you're going to have a bunch of promiscuous women aborting babies at 8 months. And it's like, I mean, how many women are actually doing that? It seems a little weird. If they don't want the baby, then they shouldn't have had sex to begin with. Absolutely. Absolutely, Phil. But that is not the case, is it? That is not what's happening out there. I absolutely agree with you that people should be responsible for what they're doing. People should take responsibility, personal responsibility for what their consequences are. But that is not the case. We are dealing with multifaceted groups of people who, in different economic situations and different upbringing situations, it's just so hard to say that this is the blanket statement that should be implemented across the entire nation. So, anyways, getting off abortion. But thank you. I appreciate that, Phil, I appreciate when people hold me accountable, because I do tend to just say shit, and there is some truth to it, but you know how human minds can be. You can be just rattling off information that you saw and have a cursory understanding of, and you just sort of go with it because it fits your narrative, what you're doing. Fortunately enough for me, I've looked into this subject enough to understand a little bit about it, considering what we had to make, that decision we had to make here in Ohio back in November, because I took it very seriously and I voted. I'm a voter. I vote. Uh, so, yeah, I get what you're saying, though, Phil, and I appreciate you, pushing back, because that's what's needed is an open dialogue about this shit, man. Uh, let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Others working on working to put Trump back in the White House say that the liberal celebs can bring it on. Bring it on. There's only accountability men. There's zero accountability for women, and abortion is part of accountability for women. Yo, now that's a whole different subject, and I agree with you completely that it's two separate expectations, right? Um, you know, Men have no say over if a baby is aborted or not, but they have to pay that fucking they have to pay that money every month now, don't they? Men aren't a part of the conversation. You talk about divorce, it leans towards mothers and women. So I understand what you're saying, and that's a good one for Samo. Samo's on top of that shit. And I'm 100% for adoption, the Europe option of 14 weeks, 14, 15, depending on country. That's true. Yeah. And yeah, I mean that. Me too, man. Me too. I'm totally about, especially when you look at like black and brown babies who've been killed, and you look at Margaret Sanger, who was definitely someone who wanted abortions to reduce the population of black and brown people. That definitely came to fruition. Millions. And you heard Kanye sort of ranting about this. And this is why I love and hate Kanye, because he gets on these subjects and he's so fluid, and he's just like, and you know how many black babies were murdered because of abortion and Margaret Sanger? And I love Hitler. And you're just like, hey, whoa, what? What? Kanye, what the fuck, bro? Yeah. So it is like there is there are some racist intentions about that surround abortion to begin with. But I grew up a lefty and liberal, and I've looked at the evidence, and I'm still all about freedom of choice and freedom of body autonomy. Especially when people were talking about the vaccine and comparing it to what was it, abortion, and they're like, that's not the same. You can't tell a woman what to do with their body. And they're like, well, you can't tell me to put this vaccine that's untested and you want to put in pregnant people's bodies that you've never tested this shit on too. And wow, we've been having a lot of miscarriages and a lot of problems getting pregnant, and a lot of weird stuff with periods in women that somehow popped up somewhere around the end of 2020 or early 2021, and all of a sudden it just kicked into high gear of all these cases of myocarditis. Somehow, some way, just popped into existence. Young, healthy people getting fucking having heart attacks. on fields of sports field. So weird. But I guess the argument to that was like, well, having an abortion doesn't affect other people, but not getting the vaccine does, and you're gonna kill my grandma. Fuck you. Do what I tell you, or else you're out of the club. That whole thing. Can't stand that shit. And it leans to females because of what? They don't raise kids better according to the stats. Yeah, I mean, of course. I mean, there's all kinds of stats. I mean, when you look at single parent households, single mother households, and you look at the numbers of people who, education rates and who goes to jail sooner, who's more likely to commit crimes, who's more likely to drop out of high school, who's more likely to the list goes on and on. And so I get what you're saying. There's zero statistical evidence that the vaccine did anything right. And it's very interesting that no one's sort of keeping track of that. Why is there no evidence of anything? Why isn't there? There should be something, right? I mean, we know that vaccine injuries are a thing. I know that anybody in this chat at least knows one person that maybe directly or indirectly knows one person who was injured by the vaccine. I know several, like a lot. So, but it might not be the vaccine. It was probably COVID that did that. And the vaccine was just, suppressing it. And it just came out when the vaccine went in because of COVID. And then the vaccine killed the COVID, but the COVID made your heart swell up. I took one shot and never again. Opulence. God bless you, sir. I mean, you do you. I understand. Look, and I'm not saying anybody watching this, I'm not saying don't get vaccinated. This is a free fucking country. And that's really what all this diatribe is about. It's a free country. You do what you want and you do how you feel, as long as it's not hurting other people. If you want to get vaccinated, if you want to have an abortion and your state is legal to get one, get an abortion. If you want to cut your dick off and fucking stuff some tits into your chest, fucking do that shit. Do that shit. But it's when you start trying to press your ideology and press your thought process on other people where I'm just like, man, that is ridiculous. And both sides of the aisle do it. I'm not saying don't get vaccinated for C19. The death rates have remained the same since the vaccine came out. It does not work.
Brought to you by Pfizer. Brought to you by Pfizer. Fuck you. Pay me.
Since Biden is so weak, they need others to shore up his credibility. Won't matter since his disapproval is driving the race. Voters aren't fools, John McLaughlin, a top pollster for Trump, says in response to Rolling Stone's questions regarding Swift. Celeb endorsements of endorsements of Biden are like donating to Nikki Haley. What? Celeb endorsements of Biden are like donating Nikki Haley? What, is just meaningless? They are a means of virtue signaling. It's like wearing a medical mask in public after COVID. Celebrities can endorse Biden, but it doesn't lower inflation, stop wars, fix the border, or lower crime. Biden's job approval still sucks. So Trump is still winning and will win. I mean, I don't know about that, but that's what John McLaughlin says. But I don't disagree with what he's saying. I don't disagree that, you can't fucking polish a turd, right? It's like, because at the end of the day, it's still shit. Spokespeople for Swift and Trump did not mean, okay, we don't care if they responded. You were like 10 minutes from publishing and then sent an email to his people. Oh, he didn't respond. Publish it. Fuck it. Constitutional GOP donors don't care that they're funding a constitutional crisis at the border. And here's another fun thing that all of a sudden it's all the Republicans' fault that the border is fucked. I love that they just turned it on fucking Republicans. They're like, GOP is supporting this. Trump was the best president we've had in my lifetime, and that should say a lot. I do like some aspects of Trump. The No New Wars thing was great. I think that was one of the best things that could have came out of that. I mean, you saw exactly what happened as soon as Biden got back in. The war hawks came out, and Ukraine and Israel, Iran, Syria, it's all going down, baby. And if we get into Iran right now, we are fucking starting World War III because they're part of a BRICS nation, and I'm imagining that they're going to have allies with the BRICS people. Peace in the Middle East. I mean, it wasn't completely peace in the Middle East. The Abraham Accords, the Abram Accords, is that what it was? It wasn't completely. Look at this Look at me go, Robbie. Look at me go. Robbie, good to see you, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. We're just talking about a lot. We've been all over the place today. Standing ovation. Hey, it's the first, it was the first peace deal in the Middle East in over 35 years. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you. It was definitely a step in the right direction. And as soon as Biden took office, it was business as usual. So I do agree with you. I guess my biggest gripe is that he is such a divisive figure that I don't see him coming in healing the country. I just see more riots and shit. So I agree that there were some great aspects of Trump, but I can't get behind that dude. I just can't. How can someone that is such a shit human be the best president? I don't know. Why is Joe Biden the president? Like the kid sniffer. How did that piece of shit who put millions of black people in prisons and turned them back into slaves? How did that piece of shit end up in there? It's because they play the game and they had the money and the support. Was it Trump spent $50 million in donor money on legal bills? See, and it's all coming out right now. It's just, they're going to start shitting on everything possible. So sort of coming back to this, they're framing this. They're framing this as a conspiracy, far-right conspiracy theory that Taylor Swift is somehow being propped up by the government. They're acting like that. How is that even possible? It's very possible. Wittingly or unwittingly, it's very possible for Taylor Swift to be propped up by the deep state. Everyone loved Trump until he was president. Absolutely. And look how many rappers right now are coming out. Lil Pump just got a tattoo on his leg of Trump. Snoop Dogg just said he loves Trump. Ice Cube's been down with Trump. Lil Wayne was released by Trump. There's a lot of fucking rappers who love Trump still. And when I talk to like very hardcore leftists, they don't believe that black and brown people are behind Trump. They're like, there's no way that he has their support. Are they stupid? Do they not know any better? Little for minorities. He did a lot for white rich people. Well, he did do some stuff for minorities. I do agree with you. He did a lot for rich white people. So did Biden. So did Obama. He made a lot of fucking. The war machine was on fire during Obama administration. I think they all make a lot of money for white people. He did a lot for minorities as well. Well, I thought it was awesome that he was releasing rappers from prison, and he was, started the HBCUs, the funding for that, lowest unemployment for minorities in history. Yeah, absolutely. Now you can't tell me he did shit for minorities. Well, Robbie, as a white, I wouldn't expect you to be paying attention to minorities. I'm just joking. I love you, Robbie. Look, I'm not trying to sit here and defend Trump, but I'm not going to sit here and shit on every little thing he did. Did he say some mean shit on Twitter? Yeah. Was he a little bit leaning on racist? Yeah, I would say so. But a lot of stuff, what's interesting is that he was taken out of context a lot of the time, and they only played certain segments of certain speeches that framed him to be the biggest bigot ever. He did say some fucked up shit, though. I mean, he did call Haney a piece of shit or shitty. right? You know, he was shitting. He was saying some terrible shit. But he wasn't the worst president we ever had. I mean, during that time, this country prospered and we were making a lot of money. And honestly, I was doing better financially. I mean, no, that's not true. I'm doing better financially now, but not because of Biden, but only because of experience in life that I'm able to have a multiple forms of income, and and we own our own business and such, and it's gotten stuff. He was the first president to secure long-time funding for his. Yeah, there you go. Phil said it again. Minorities stopped looking for jobs in the COVID area and skewed those numbers. Well, but here's the fun part about skewed numbers, right? Like Joe Biden is going on these skewed numbers himself because he's saying the highest unemployment and all this stuff, but he's comparing it to 2020 when he took office.
Look, whatever you guys are talking about, I'm telling you right now that if Biden wins again and Kamala is his vice president, she will be the worst president we will ever have because Biden's going to die. He can't live that much longer. So, whatever argument you guys are having, the answer is Kamala.
So you got it here first. Miranda Mystique endorses Kamala Harris for president of the United States.
I don't endorse her for anything but getting on her knees.
Yeah, Obama was. I loved him as the face of the country, but he just continued the same war-hawked Republican policies that his predecessor did. I agree with you, and so does my dad. He's scared of her too. I want him out of the running. Yeah, Biden. We should. This is ridiculous. Like everybody, I think everybody can agree in this fucking chat that fucking Biden is not the best option. I'm with that, Robbie. I don't like either of them. I think they're both just rotten, fucking to the core. And I'm just not into it. Bush, 17 new war fronts and no sight and end of those. Yeah, he just, yeah, I agree with you, Phil. I mean, Obama was just a new face. It was just branding. It was new branding, right? They just branded it differently. Now it's war light. And we were talking about this the other day about how, all this social justice stuff has sort of really blew up. And this is something that I heard from Dave Smith, who I really respect as a comedian and a political commentator. But when he brought up this interesting idea that once people realized that Obama was just a continuation of the Bush era and that he was, ineffectual and wasn't really trying to help anybody but himself and his, corporate goons, that's when this social justice really kicked in, right? Like the whole, like LGBTQ rights and the Black Lives Matter was a little bit later, but the whole, like, let's concentrate and separate everybody by race.
2024. Marianne, 2024.
RFK Jr. 2024.
We're a divided household on third parties here. No, Marianne's actually running under the Democratic ticket, but still, she's third party.
I think so is RFK.
Marianne. Woo! All right, I said my piece. I'm going back to my couch.
Trump way better than bumbling Bush. Ugh, Bush.
Which Bush is the bumbler?
The second one, George W. That's my pregnant wife. I was trying to talk her into streaming today. It'd probably have been more productive than us just going back and forth about Trump and fucking Biden. Both are just, I don't know. Anyway, and that's the problem. I don't give two shits about what Trump said, only what he did. And that's the problem and why you will never win a debate. I care about actions, not words. All right, I'm going to let you guys work that out. I got to get through this story. I have to have some content that's cogent. We're leaving this whole conversation in too. We're not editing any of this out, but we do have to have a beginning, middle, and end, which is what I figured. How I always get in the YouTube comments and emails. It's just like, I wish you would stay on point. Yes, yeah, I think I agree with that. Yo, man, why can't we get along this entire time? It's back and forth. like Aaliyah song. Oh, no one's mad. Y'all shouldn't. Don't get mad in here, guys. This is a place where we can have open debate about this shit, man. And there's no reason to get upset or angry about anything that we're talking about here. These are just words. They're not. Yeah, and I appreciate that. Phil was holding me accountable earlier, and I appreciate that too. I've always told you guys that I appreciate it when you guys push back, because I tend to fucking ramble on and I'll get on a tangent, and things will just come out, and it's better that we sort of look into these situations than it just go out into the world, and we're just part of the problem and spreading misinformation. Come on, man, stop misinforming people, bro. Ambulance, I appreciate you, though. I appreciate you jumping in, but like, come on, fellas, let's just do this. Let's just hang out. Yeah, we like rambling and tangent. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate that. And I like my ADHD tangents, too. I mean, this is all fits on brand, okay? We speak English good, right? Where were we? Singer-songwriter Taylor Swift hasn't even endorsed President Joe Biden for re-election yet. That hasn't stopped members of MAGA land's upper crust from plotting to declare, as one source close to Donald Trump calls it, a holy war on the pop megastar, especially if she ends up publicly backing Democrats in the 2024 election. According to three people familiar with the matter, any three people will do, I suppose. Trump loyalists working on or close to the former president's campaign, longtime Trump allies in right-wing media, and an array of outside advisors to the ex-president have long taken it as a given that Swift will eventually endorse Biden. Indeed, several of these Republicans and conservative media figures have discussed the matter with Trump over the past few months, the sources say. You could just say it, the sources say. I hate Trump. I just know facts. Fair enough. And look, I'm just not with him. Like, I'm just not with it. I just don't think he's better I don't think he'll heal the country or bring people together. And I think that's what we need the most right now. Along with, I wish we could have Trump like policy in like a reasonable human being, but is that even possible, right? Like, because you do have somebody who is speaking out against the CIA, the FBI. He's sitting there trying to hold these alphabet institutions accountable, and then they end up turning on him. Obviously, if you go to war with the intelligence community, they're gonna fuck with you. So, I appreciate that about Trump. I appreciate that he calls out the mainstream media. I appreciate that he confronts people directly head on and not dance around certain issues. I mean, he's just shooting from the fucking hip. So is it even possible to have a rational human being who's going up against the world's most powerful fucking clandestine intelligence agencies in the fucking world? Is there a rational human being who could speak? I mean, I thought Vivek did a really good job at it, but I don't know if there is somebody who could fucking be rational and sane and actually go up against the DOJ and like the fucking the mainstream ideology, right? Like it would be irrational for someone to even want to put themselves in that position. Right. When he returned, he said, march peacefully. Okay. He wanted them to march to the Capitol. Yeah, but that march was planned, and that was something that they were planning. And I just look at the footage that Tucker released that got him fired. And you see the QAnon shaman being escorted around the Capitol building. You see Ray Epps talking and getting people to fucking riot and saying we need to go into the building. We got the FBI, head of the FBI saying that they can't confirm or deny that there was agents in the crowd or agent provocateurs in the crowd. They can't, like you see cops being told to stand down and opening gates for these people to come in. You see people in black masks breaking windows while the protesters were like, hey, don't do that. And then they like get physical with people and say, fuck you. And they break in the windows to start that kind of shit. This is shit that happens all the time. And this is how they get fucking peaceful protests turned into riots so they can shut that shit down. What was it? Was it 1998? I mean, or 2008? Well, it was one of the G20 summits in Seattle where you saw that shit. You saw agent provocateurs in the crowd with combat boots and all in black, fucking breaking windows, and so they can come shut down the shit. January 6th, I'm sorry, it looks pretty obvious that that they took the situation and escalated it. And by they, I'm saying like members of the DOJ who were obviously trying to get Trump out of office. There was a concerted effort from mainstream media, tech industry, and our government to get him out of office. Time Magazine wrote a whole article about it. They just said it, okay? They lied so much about Trump, and they framed him to be such a racist piece of shit, when in reality they were just, it was editing. So it's hard for me to take any of that shit seriously when you know that you've been lied to on such an advanced level. It's just hard for me to take it seriously. But saying all that, I still don't think Trump is a great leader because he is so inflammatory. Again, I wish we could have Trump policy and you know, and maybe even a little bit more left-leaning policy, and put him in a rational human being that wasn't fucking just spouting off at the mouth. That's not what happened at all. Yeah, and I will say that he did have some strong words in that Rudolph Giuliani and stuff. They never showed what they were talking about. You know, they were saying some incendiary shit that were getting people really pumped up. But when you have fucking Alex Jones telling people not to go into the Capitol, you know something fucked up is going on. Because you would think Alex Jones would be the one leading them in, and he was the one who was like, "Stop, guys, we can't do this. This is what they want." So I think it was a convergence of circumstances that, yeah, Trump did get him pretty pumped up. He never said anything about, you know, go into the Capitol and kill Nancy Pelosi. There was pipe bombs planted somewhere. We never figured out where those came from. You know, people were armed, and it was, I don't think it was good. Ben Shapiro called it evil. I don't know if it was evil, but I do think it was like Duck Dynasty fucking goes to Washington. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I think the whole thing should have never happened. It was wrong that it happened. It should have never happened. But there's so much evidence that points to that it was being ramped up by the DOJ, and they wanted that shit to happen because they knew that they would be able to use this to against Trump if he ever tried to run again, in which they're doing that, and we're seeing it happen in real time. E. Jean Carroll, he was able to testify. Wait a minute. It's just like the case with the girl from New York where Trump had, pay $83 million. He never once able to even present evidence in the case. He was able to testify and refused. It was a hung jury from the start. Oh yeah. See, now I'm not very familiar with that whole case. I kind of checked out of like all these lawsuits that are going on. I do know that the lady, the prosecutor in Georgia, is under 22 indictments. The one who's prosecuting for voter fraud has 22 indictments of fraud himself, and was fucking one of the lawyers or something. So that's interesting, right? I don't know. In any case, it's very obvious that they're going after Trump, and you know, if he's found guilty of these things, I'll accept that, but I don't think a huge swath of people will accept that. I'll say it again, I really don't like our choices in this life.
Come on, man. Come on, man.
How about this, though? Do you like the choices of this?
Pound town. Pound town. Pound town. Pound town.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
How dare you?
Why are you gay?
Okay, that was ridiculous. Now that is morning time zoo radio right there. While Swift has not yet issued an endorsement in the 2024 race, the New York Times reported Monday that Swift is a key name on Biden's aides. Biden has AIDS, wish list of potential surrogates. A potential Swift appearance at Super Bowl, what is it, 30 or 40, 43? I don't know. Alongside her boyfriend, Kansas City Chiefs tight end, Travis Kelce. Oh, that's his position. I didn't know. I thought he was like the quarterback or something. Has already prompted the MAGA rights culture war pugilist, is that how you say that, into a conspiracy fueled forth about how this NFL season has been rigged to boost Biden. I like pound cake. Sarah Lee to be. I just wish the lies would fucking stop. That's the worst part of all of this. You know, Phil, I agree. I wish that news was just boring and lame and like fucking just facts. 58, by the way, is the Super Bowl. Oh, thank you. Not even close. Robbie, thank you. By the way, everybody, Robbie has a stream of his own. If you guys want to go check him out, he is a sports expert, at least for the DC area. But go check out Robbie's podcast. He does a podcast too. Is it RB? Boom, Robbie Smith. He streams here on Twitch, but we do sports without politics. Yeah, it's not like this. We do music with politics. Oh man, music is just my entry into the conversation. It's just like we'll just do that. Anyways, I was trying to get Raina to stream today. She just wasn't having it. He has the MAGA rights culture war pugilist into a conspiracy fueled forth by how this NFL season has been rigged to boost Biden. Now, okay, has the NFL ever? We gotta ask ourselves: has any professional sports, ever been rigged? Has there ever been a time that you could think that sports were proven to be rigged? And if you can think of that, what makes you think it can't be done again? The internet? No. It can definitely be done. Like, here's the thing. All these things are possible that we're talking about here. All these things are possible. It definitely seems rigged. Yeah, only because your team didn't win. Yeah, well, I mean, we can think of times where blatant cheating has gone on. Patriots. We can think of times that that a whole game's been rigged. What was in the Major League Baseball back in the 30s, the 20s or something? There was some fuckery that went on back then. I mean, yes, but also calls for are so subjective. Yes, and of course, refs can be bought. Has that ever been a case? I don't know sports enough. If you can think of a time, even if it's just one, and I'm guessing you can think of at least three, that this has happened, then what's to say that it can't happen again? Nothing. There's nothing to say that it can't happen again. Of course this shit can happen. And yes, refs have been bought out in the NBA, so for sure. And there you go. Robbie, our resident sports expert, is dropping the knowledge. There could be holding on any play, and so calling them for one team and not the other can really change an outcome in these one position games. Dang, see, that's some expert breakdown right there. And now NHL, the league reviews everything in the last minute so they can affect any goal that last minute. Wow. So there's obviously some fuckery going on consistently. And so what's to say that it's not happening now? Nothing. Behind the scenes, Trump has reacted to the possibility of Biden and Swift teaming up against him this year, not with alarm, but with an instant projection of ego. In recent weeks, the former president has told people in his orbit, hey, Moving Dutchman, what's up, baby? Yeah, and we're also on the YouTubes. Welcome in, Moving Dutchman. Good to see you, my friend. Oh shit, he comes he popped in over here too. Appreciate that, buddy. I really do. Thank you so much for supporting on both platforms. In recent weeks, the former president has told people in his orbit that no amount of A-list celebrity endorsements will save Biden. Trump has also privately claimed that he is more popular than Swift. And we already, did we go back up? How do we're like rereading shit. Oh my God. We're fucking rereading. Shit. Yeah, this thing has been over for a while. All right. ADHD, baby. Come on. Okay. So I wanted to play, before we get off this subject, I do want to play our paid propagandist here. Her name is Jen Psaki, who is definitely the former press secretary for the Biden administration, who is now a pundit over at MSNBC. Let's hear what she has to
Popularity
say.
is being propped up and wielded by the powers that be in order to unleash her fans as Democratic voters and hand Joe Biden the 2024 presidential election. If it only worked that way. First off, yes, let's all acknowledge Taylor Swift absolutely has unbelievable influence, just ask my 8-year-old, as one of the biggest stars on the planet. And I mean, why wouldn't Joe Biden want her endorsement? But where folks on
Fair enough. Fair enough. Why wouldn't Biden want his endorsement? That's very fair. And again, I keep saying this, it's not uncommon for celebrities to be paid or tapped to endorse a specific politician. It's not illegal. It's okay. You know, there's no conspiracy about that. Oh God, someone got her pregnant. Is she pregnant? Peppermint Patty's pregnant? There was just like this gross taste in my mouth that just came over me. Peppermint Patty. Yeah, I don't like peppermint patties. And I love that nickname.
the right make it super, super weird is by painting this as some sort of intricate, deep, dark conspiracy. Like, say, former presidential...
Okay. Former press secretary is calling this a right-wing conspiracy. I'm sorry, but that doesn't ring any alarm bells for anybody. And again, we started this whole segment talking about how as soon as you deviate from any narrative, you get labeled a MAGA, right-wing extremist, racist, transphobe who fucking hates people with disabilities and loves the Jews, right? Like, as soon as you fucking... I'm only saying that because Jews are on fire right now. Not that I don't like the Jews. I love the Jews. The Jews deserve to exist, people. But as soon as you deviate from a specific narrative, you are all of a sudden that love the Jews. Get my vote. Yeah. But it's as soon as something deviates from a specific narrative, you automatically get labeled as something, that's supposed to be reviled, like a right winger or a Republican or someone who questions some of the policies that are being some of the policies being passed that support abortions or whatever it is, right? Like if you're religious and you believe in Jesus and God or whatever, all of a sudden you're evil. If you're Jewish and you support Israel, you're evil and you're what do they call it? A colonist, right? This is what they do as soon as the narrative gets disrupted. And so that's always a red flag to me that like there's something to this. And maybe they're just trying to discredit some misinformation or malinformation, but there is something to, there's always something to it. If you can remember a time when we couldn't talk about a subject that later turned out to be true, then why can't that still be business as usual? I can think of several things that we weren't allowed to talk about, got you labeled as a warmonger, or not warmonger, as a right-wing extremist just by saying it. I'd rather cut my arm off than listen to MSNBC, the news outlet that to this day still says Kyle Rittenhouse killed 3 black people. They do, right? They still say that shit. Kyle Rittenhouse killed 0 black people and killed a fucking a pedophile, fucking piece of shit pedophile. Anyways, I mean, that dude is fucked. And you know what? I know Kyle Rittenhouse, I do not enjoy watching interviews with him. He doesn't come off as the brightest bulb in the batch. He's just sort of boring, and he just sort of got caught up in a moment where it sucks that they still are saying that he killed, BLM black people, and that's not real at all. It's like, damn. It sucks that he has to go around with a target on his back because he was defending his city from fucking people who weren't even from there. Not that anybody should have died, or I wished anyone to die, but when you watch the video, he was defending himself. They're beating his ass with a skateboard. I'm sorry. As soon as you come at me with a weapon, I'm fucking using lethal force. If you're throwing hands, that's different, right? Throwing hands is different. I would never pull a gun on somebody because I was talking shit and someone wanted to bust my chops or whatever. But as soon as you start using lethal force, and that's skateboards. And by the way, spitting on people is a form of physical assault. So as soon as someone spits on you, it's okay to tee off on that bitch, all right? Like, you can punch them. I'm not one for violence, but I am one for putting down violence. She has an 8. Oh yeah, Naders. she has an 8-year-old. Yeah, someone put a baby in there in Peppermint Patty. And now she's going to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy, which we went over in the Rolling Stone.
Candidate and Trump surrogate Vivek Ramaswamy, who posted this yesterday after Kansas City punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. Quote, I wonder who's going to win the Super Bowl next month, and I wonder if there's a major presidential endorsement coming from an artificially, culturally propped up couple this fall. No. I mean, what are you talking about? Also, he's clearly not a football fan. I mean, it could be that the game was rigged, Vivek Ramaswamy. Could be. As part of an elaborate scheme to get Joe Biden more votes. It could be. Or it might have been that Baltimore had some bad fourth quarter turnovers. If you watched the game, again, you're probably not a football fan.
I don't even know if she's a football fan. Who knows if she's a football fan? Maybe she's a football fan. Or maybe someone just wrote that for her. Obviously, the ex-fucking press secretary for the Biden administration to pipeline straight to MSNBC, fucking the propagandist, the left-leaning propagandist network. Have a good day, chat. Gotta get ready for work. Hey, Ty, thank you so much for hanging out, and I absolutely agree. Spitting is cosign for an ass whooping all day. I mean, Baltimore did play like shit in the second half, or the whole game, really. Yeah, I didn't watch the game. I know Raina did, but again, I'm not saying that the game was rigged at all, but I am saying that it's not outside the realm of possibility. Oh, and look at who it is, Raina Mystique. Welcome in. Let's hear what Peppermint Patty has to say. But
for an increasingly shocking number of folks on the right, there's always a mastermind. There's always some larger, big state, big institution.
Because as soon as, wait, Nancy Pelosi said that pro-Palestine protesters are Russian agents. That has Mr. Putin all over it. The hypocrisy, the fucking hypocrisy is so fucking disgusting. It's just blatant nobody's hiding anything. It's just right there for you to see. Nancy Pelosi is saying pro-Palestine marchers, people who don't want Israel to still murder fucking babies, which now, I mean, and I'm a firm believer of like, you should be able to criticize Israel without being an anti-Semite. It's like, I believe Israel should exist, but I think that murdering all these fucking babies that were flooding my timeline for so many weeks, bumming me out, it isn't cool either. I'm not a big fan of war. But anyways, getting off subject here. They both sides do the same shit every day. Same shit.
Behind the curtain, keeping conservatives and Donald Trump down. They'll stare directly at conspiracy, but never in the mirror.
And again, look at that stupid fucking smug face. Yeah, there was a complete conspiracy, an open conspiracy. It's not even a conspiracy. It was an open attack on Donald Trump. Time magazine wrote all about it. You can go read it for yourself if you guys are interested. Oh, a random mistake. Hey. Okay. Okay, so that's that. We're past Taylor Swift. Is Taylor Swift a psyop? Maybe. There's no saying. But speaking of Israel,